Good to see you again, good people. Before I reveal the plugin, you may be thinking, what's up with the rack missing a preamp just to my left? Well, I'm finally building my real rack, and I have a mystery preamp on the way. So come back soon, and we can hear for ourselves how much better the real thing is. So hit subscribe if you like 80s guitar, tell me down in the comments what you think of the song, and the plugin is the Red Marshall from STL Tonality Howard Benson. I am committed to keeping my videos shorter, so I'm not going to do a separate playthrough or anything outside of the song. Let me know if you want some isolated tracks, maybe I could upload those later separately. I'm simply going to give you the reasons why this is my favorite, and why I think you never hear about it anymore. So for a long time, I only used analog gear or fractal for modeling, and we all remember that time when plugins still kind of sucked. I think we were all kind of in that boat. Then there was this wave of the early STL and Neural and some of the Brainworks stuff from that time period, and suddenly plugins felt like a real option. This Marshall is the first time I ever played a plugin that cleaned up right. You get such a range with your right hand and your volume knob, and the feel is what's most important to me in plugins. The impulse response here is also crazy good. It has all that great Marshall cabinet high end without taking your head off. So I used a plugin for every guitar on this track except those super cleans. I already had this song written and kicking around, and it has that clean section in it, so a Marshall isn't really suited to that. It is what it is. I use the Neural SLO plugin for those. But to show you how well it cleans up, the intro on my Tyler and the little solo in the middle section on my Knaggs are both the full-on high-gain rhythm tone, like same tone, untouched, just with the volume knob on the guitar rolled down. So why isn't everybody singing this plugin's praises? Well, it has a couple things working against it. First, the market moves fast. It came out a few years ago, and people are always obsessed with the new hotness. That's kind of unfair, but it just is how the market works in this space. Second, I think STL got their big bump and claimed a ton of additional market share when they came out with their hub plugins, Tone Hub, stuff like that. Those are profiles. I don't see these tonality models kicking around too much anymore. Third, this is the only amp I use in here. The Wizard is pretty cool, but that's about it for me. So I'm sure there's people who are the opposite. They got this just for metal and they're using the Uberschall and they never touch this Marshall. It's a large, expensive suite with a bunch of amps in it, and I think that kind of hurts people's ability to go and find their potential favorite in there. So what are some downsides? Well, compared to a real amp, you're definitely going to hear some aliasing in like the high highs, and you're gonna have to cut a little more top end than normal in the mix. Also, like any other plugin, it can be a little noisy, and you're gonna have some floor issues when you're rolling off the volume on your guitar, just because it's always easy to run into that digital noise when you're tracking direct, as opposed to recording a nice isolated analog rig. And just to give some other people some credit, I do really love Softube's new rework of their Marshall suite, as well as the Mercurial Bogner Ecstasy and Amp Box, but for that you kind of have to be into the Bogner sound, you know, extra smooth. And those are good tools to have in the toolbox when I am having to work in the box and just use plugins for everything. However, when it comes to just pulling up a plugin and having the sound right in front of you just on the default preset, I'm gonna reach for the STL Tonality Howard Benson Red Marshall every time. So tell me down in the comments, do you have other favorite Marshall plugins? Are you a hardware modeler guy? I was always a fractal guy when I wasn't using analog rigs. Make sure you come back next time to hear my new analog rig in action when it's all together. I've definitely had a focus so far on the channel on using plugins to replicate these iconic 80s tones, because I feel like then it's sort of relevant to and accessible to everyone, but I really want to combine that with some more analog gear and reviews and tutorials going forward, just because, you know, that's the stuff that's really fun. So as always, do me a favor, go pick up your guitar today, right now, have fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye.